20-yard run up.
Dear! Good ball for Roberto Carlos. Hooked into the penalty area towards Zidane.
Nani.
Rooney! Oh, wonderful!
Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli. Aguero!
Hello, good evening. Savva here from Football Heritage TV. It's good to see that my two guests turning up for my main show of the week haven't got here on time for 8 o'clock. Sean, where are you? Danny Kiriakou, where are you? Haz, thank you so much for being on time, my friend. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good, all good. It's good to be on the show, to be honest, Savva. Ready to get cracking.
Yeah, it's. I wish we had a lot more positive news. I really, really do, Haz. But listen, thank you for joining. Anybody that hasn't, please go over, subscribe to Haz and Ashmatic and Marlon at Southview Coys. Great content, some really good in-depth analysis of players as well. Before we get going, I must say thank you to two people who have joined as channel member this morning, but after I stopped my show. Stephen Gage, welcome to the Football Heritage TV family. Tony De Silva, welcome as well. Look, there are already 524 people in the chat. Smash the like button, people, and subscribe if you can. You know the rules. Just smash the like. It means we don't have to ask, and it makes life a lot easier. And just subscribe. Why not? Hey, it's all free. Let's get cracking while we wait for the other boys. I'll just see if either of them. No. Let's get cracking. Look, obviously, it's a bit fractious in the Spurs fan base at the moment. I feel like we're doing that thing again amongst fans where there's lots of infighting. Lots of people are upset. Some are frustrated. Some are angry. Then you get the others saying, "No, hang on, just be patient, and the window's not shut yet." But are we seeing what we knew we were going to see? Is this Tottenham Hotspur down to a T, what we are seeing this window?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at previous seasons gone by, the trend is there. You can see it. Even last season as well, when we was talking off air, we brought in the likes of Bissouma. Everyone was like, we're getting that business done early. We brought Bissouma in. We're doing all our business bits and pieces, getting it done. This season, it's been almost carbon copy of last season.
Yep.
Madison, who's last season's Bissouma, the biggish sort of signing.
With 1 year left on his contract.
1 year left on his contract. But this year, we've thrown in Harry Winks as a sweetener as well to reduce the fee, let's not forget. And then we brought Perisic in straight after, I think, Bissouma as well, or thereabouts last season. This season, we've brought in Vicario and centre-backs. Everyone's saying the same thing. Centre-backs. Last season, we shipped in 63 goals. It all went quiet. Mm-hmm. We had our sights set on two primary targets in Van der Ven and Tapsoba. And again, it's just all gone quiet. So what I'm trying to say is that the trend is there. All you've got to do is just look back in the last few seasons. We do it to ourselves. We sort of want to believe that every year is going to be different. We sort of try and get behind the next manager, It's going to be different under this one. But there's always a common underlying denominator. We all know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, Sean, welcome to the show. And insane numbers you had on your show, mate. Great work. Sean is balling out. Sean, look, listen, as I said to Haz, I'd love to sit here and have loads and loads of positives that we could all sit here and talk about bids we've put in, new signings, pre-season games coming up. But it's all a bit flat. There's no games. Like, for love nor money, I cannot work out why there's no pre-season friendly but for 11 days. There's no signings. There's no bids. Does it make it worse, Sean? I'm going to ask, and I know it's easy to look into your next door neighbour's garden and be jealous of whatever they've got going on over there. Does it make it worse that when we look at all the clubs around us, they're all bidding for players, they're all in talks, you look at it, Arsenal, constantly. You look at Aston Villa, what they're doing.
Yeah.
You look at Chelsea, left, right, and centre. Man United with Onana, then Højlund, now Amrabat. Does it make it worse that the other clubs are actually just acting like proper football clubs?
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head, mate. I was trying to kind of dial in. And by the way, good to be on. Thank you for having me. Good to see you, Has. Haven't streamed with you for a while, mate. Good to see you, bro. Shout out to the chat. I hope the chat is all locked in. But I think I was trying to kind of nail it or lock down how I was feeling I was on Tottenham on tour before I was on mine, and now I'm on here, and I think I finally kind of nailed it. I think for me, the reason why I'm so angry right now is not necessarily because of the lack of transfers.
Yeah.
That is a reason. That's a reason for a problem in and of itself. But it's also the fact that the noise has been Van der Ven's done, Tapsoba's done.
Yeah.
There's no wiggle room. The story's gone quiet, and there is absolutely no other noise. There's nothing. And as a content creator, like I've been shameless this summer. I've been absolutely shameless. Like the Jay-Z link was a little bit over the line. I didn't put that story out because I thought that was ridiculous. But everything else,
I did.
Did you? Oh, did you? Oh, fair enough. Shameless FC.
Yeah,
Shameless.com. No, I just thought like everything else, any other kind of like slightly spurious link, I was like, oh, that'll do for a story, even if it's not really true. But there's nothing. Even the clickbait merchants have dried up. Like there's nothing to get excited about right now. And that to me is the biggest concern, is that if there was actual genuine interest, I know that there's occasionally, like obviously you could make the Solomon a case and say that no one was really talking about Solomon, then suddenly it happened. Maybe Vicario wasn't really a story.
It's all right when it's a free transfer, though, Sean, isn't it? Like you would expect that would come from left field, wouldn't you? But
yeah. And most of the free transfers, most of the free transfer options are all dried up now. So yeah, it's worrying, mate. It's worrying for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to try and throw some light on it, but this will probably end with a bit of a sour taste as well. I mean, as the Van der Ven and Tapsoba talks and noise, from Ornstein and Romano and everyone saying it, as that all went on, we got a little bit excited. Like me and Sean jumped on the stream at once. Sean and I play up front for Shameless FC. He knocks the ball down. I buried him. But everyone was getting a bit excited. Then after about a week, everyone's like,
at the back. Yeah.
Oh, it must be 24 hours now, or today's the day. Then it started coming out that, you know what? It's looking more likely that we're going to get Tosin Adarabioyo from Fulham. I'm okay with that. Deep down, like I'm now like,
I like him.
Okay, right. Okay, cool. We'll get Tosin. That'll be. Now even he, according to reports today, is joining Mohamed Salisu at Monaco. And Monaco today have also just sold
to
Chelsea. We can't even get our third or fourth choice.
Oh, hold up. I thought the Salisu deal meant that Tosin was back on the market. But no, you're saying that both of them are going there.
Well, the reports in the last couple of hours are saying that they still think they're going to get the deal done, and they've just agreed a fee with Chelsea for Disasi. So first choice Tapsoba, can't get him. Second choice Van der Ven. Oh, all right, we'll go to an okay centre half with 1 year left on his contract to the Premier League. Looks like we can't get him. What the hell is going on, man? Who are we getting? What's going on?
Well, we're getting an 18-year-old who's had, one cap in England youth team?
8 championship games for Blackburn.
And guess what? We can't even get that one over the line. So, mate, where are we going as a football club? Look, Chelsea's just got that agreed £30 million fee for Disasi. There you go. Job done, The fact is that, look, these are the facts. Last season, we shipped 63 goals. Now, if you're analysing Spurs' season from last year, the first thing you'd do is say, right, the defence is shocking. We've conceded 63 goals. The priority position that we need to look at, centre-backs. We need to move some of these people on. We need to do our business early. All right, James Maddison, I can understand we moved for him quite early in the window because there would have been other potential suitors, and Ange needed a creative midfielder. So we've got that over the line. But I just think it's just the same thing every season. We need to prioritise a position but we'll go for sort of like other positions. We'll go for players from, other parts of the pitch that we don't necessarily need. So yeah, I just think trying to get a centre back over the line this season, I think it's just going to go down to the wire. And I think we are all going to be quite underwhelmed, to be honest, with the options that Levy is going to give us by the end of the season. I think Longley is quite possibly going to be one of those options, if I'm being honest with you. And we spoke about this off air as well. And if that is the case, it's getting to a point, Savva, where, the more it drags on, as fans, loyal supporters, we're going to be like, well, actually, I'll take whatever we can now because there's only a week left. So I've got to be happy with whatever we can drag through the line, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is it. And that is the point that a lot of us are getting to at the moment, including myself.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sean, and by the way, sorry, just really quickly, Chris Peters, thank you for becoming a channel member. That's 9 new channel members today, which is crazy. So thank you so much for joining. As I said, from next week, we will be doing channel member only shows. Smash the like button, people. If you haven't subscribed to Spurs Talk Show, you know where to go to smash for that. It's in the bio, in the link as well. And also go and subscribe to Southview Coys. It's criminal. These boys aren't on bigger numbers. So please go and do that. Sean, is that what they're banking on? Are they banking on the fact that it wears us down so much over the summer that when we finally go and get a Longley, we go, oh, at least we got someone? Or are we going to be a bit wiser to it this year and be like, hang on, you pulled this trick last year? Like last year we were told we're going to get Longley this year because we're going to get 2 top centre-halves next year. We're now in that next year, still haven't got the centre-halves. Is that what they're banking on?
Well, I don't think it's more of like I don't think it's a constant game of pulling wool over people's eyes and kicking the can. I think it's, I genuinely think that there's too much to be done and not enough people in charge to do it. Scott Munn, apparently, I think Scott Munn was caught out. I think the reason why he's not allowed to play at the moment is because of that picture of him, at the airport going to Europe with Daniel Levy. He was on gardening leave. He's not allowed to do that. Like, I've been on gardening leave. I said it on a previous show today. I've been on gardening leave. I've had people check my WhatsApp messages to make sure that I'm not talking to people during that period. Right? You're supposed to be on gardening leave. You're supposed to be away from the market, and him going over there, I think that is the reason. I don't think it's come out yet, but I think that is the reason why he hasn't started work. I think that Man City have gone, oi, what are you doing? You've got a period that you're supposed to be away and you're going up, like you're clearly breaching the rules. So I think him not being there, I think Paratici obviously, working but not working. I don't know if that's like really legit, or I don't know the details behind it, but I think there's so much to do, so little time to do it, and so few people to do it. Daniel Levy can't do everything. He can't do anything personally, but he can't do everything, certainly. And we've got the Harry Kane thing, I think, is a massive distraction. That's taking up all of his time right now. He's probably crunching numbers with the accountants about that. I think that he's distracted from the Joe Lewis thing. He's probably talking to lawyers, making sure that he's not in any trouble personally for anything. Maybe he's obviously, like if a guy you're employed with has been indicted and that person's freedom, the very first thing that goes straight to your top of your list is to speak to your own lawyer and go, just to make sure that even if you haven't done anything wrong, I want to make sure that I can rest easy that I haven't done anything wrong here, kind of thing. So all these distractions that reprioritize things, and we've still got about 45,000 players on our books that we don't need or don't want.
Yeah.
I would also make the last thing I say before I be accused of making a rant is I think there is a slight distraction from certain players that we were pretty sure were going to be out of the door that have actually looked pretty good in the preseason. Players like Perisic, players like Lo Celso. I think that there was probably an understanding that a couple of those players were like, yeah, let's get rid. But actually, they've looked better in their positions than players like Sonny or other players. And so now Ange Postecoglou maybe is sitting there going, I don't know whether we should get rid of them. I don't know whether or not they're the right players. So it's just more headaches, more kicking the can. And we've got 2 weeks until the window or till the season starts. It's a massive problem.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll go into that in a minute because I do question the whole 2 players had 2 decent 45 minutes and then we question the whole idea of whether we sell them or not. for me personally, I just find that crazy. I understand it's a new manager coming in, but I just can't see how plans can change that quick. But I get you. Before we go on to that, a few people are saying, guys, that like Kaylee has said, are Spurs just frozen in time until the Kane stuff is done? Will we get a flurry of activity come the week's end? And Phil Coyser's back on and said, do you think the Kane and Højbjerg deals are holding up our incomings? Now, let me come to you on this. I get what people are saying with that, but if Spurs are dependent on players going out to be able to fix 4 to 5 year old problems at this football club, then we're in a bigger mess than even I give the club credit for being in a mess. Surely we can't be needing to sell those two to see new centre halves come into the club, can we?
It's a poor excuse in my book. I think it's an absolute disgrace. Firstly, the fact that we actually call ourselves a big club in the manner that we operate. If we are to sort of wait to sell players, then to be able to bring in other players, I think it's disgraceful. We're on a downward trajectory. Let's not make no bones about it. All right, we're out of Europe. Lowest place finish last season as well. We need to start operating in a manner where we can get this club back up and running and on its feet again. I noticed someone else put on the chat, first 6 months are fundamental to Ange clearing out the deadwood. He needs to see for himself who's up to it and who's not. Well, guess what? Those defenders that are still at our club played on the 2 defensive managers over the last 3 seasons. Surely he would have seen enough from their performances over the last 2 to 3 years to know that they're quite clearly not good enough for this club. It's not like,
like if they can't defend for a defensive manager, how are they going to defend for a manager that plays a high line and attacking pressing football? It doesn't make sense, does it?
Exactly that. So, waiting 6 months to find out whether they're good enough or not, I think it's just, again, it's not good enough. You would know and you would do your due diligence as a manager with your staff and everyone else at the club. You'd do your due diligence and, you'd go over the whole squad. Who's performed well over the last few seasons, who's not, who we're going to keep, who we're going to get rid of. These things should be sorted out after the football season finishes. A plan needs to be put in place and then that plan needs to be implemented. You look at all the other big clubs, right? How they operate. Your Man Cities and your Uniteds and everyone else. When they need someone, it's all pre-planned, it's implemented, and they get it over the line. Even United's got deadwood. They're not going to keep Harry Maguire. They've still got Phil Jones there, for God's sakes. Yeah, they've got so many deadwood players as well, but they seem to bring players in. And I can name you other clubs as well, even Aston Villa as well. And they've brought in about 4 or 5 players. So what is the holdback with us? Having this excuse of, we're just waiting for the Harry Kane deal to get sorted. We're just waiting for the Højbjerg deal to get sorted. Well, by the time you sort that out, everyone's done their business. And then, I'm sorry, Savva, I'll finish.
No, go on. No, go on.
The nearer we get to the start of the season or the end of the transfer window, the prices are going to go like that. It's going to be like, well, you want him? Are you desperate for him? We'll add another 5 to 10 million on the player. So I just can't see the logic in it. I can't see the logic in it, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. Anderson Petercan, stop being negative, man. We are still trying deals for Van de Ven, are we? Are we? At this stage, is it negative or is it a real cause for concern? Sean, I'm gonna ask a question that I don't think anyone knows the exact answer to, but I want to get your take on this before we go to the outgoings, because that is as frustrating as the incomings. Hasn't I touched on this just slightly while you were finishing up your show? Is there something on the horizon that we don't know about? Is something happening at this club? Because it feels completely strange that we're completely inactive in the market from both aspects.
Yeah.
Like, no one's gone out. Me, you and Henry talked about this this afternoon. No one's gone out on loan. Only Harry Winks has been sold. We've signed a free transfer, a cheap goalkeeper, and a player who had 1 year left on his contract. None of the contracts have been ripped up. I don't know. It doesn't feel right, Sean. Something doesn't feel right at the club.
Yeah, Jay-Z's coming in, bro.
He's already got 99 problems. He doesn't need our problem as well, does he? He don't need that,
Very
man.
good.
Yeah,
Very
nice
He doesn't
work.
need that. Come
Nice
on.
work. No, I know, mate. Yeah, look, you could. There is no excuse for the lack of activity. There really isn't, and so it leads you down a path of either surmising it with, well, this is just typical Daniel Levy. That's the way that your mind naturally draws towards, or yeah, there could be something going on. And like I said before, I don't know if I said it on your channel or not, but I know a guy from Goldman Sachs who I used to work with, not at Goldman Sachs, but years and years ago, who I've stayed in touch with, and he reached out to me for the first time in like 4 years, out of nowhere, and said to me, "You're a Tottenham fan, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "You got a channel, haven't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, how you doing, mate? Good to see you." And he's like, "Yeah, my brother works for a private equity firm. Don't be surprised if Tottenham dilute." And I said, "Oh, look who it is."
Yeah, I know.
He turns up for one channel, that turns up for one show. Jesus.
He messaged me earlier, Sean. Sav, I want to come on. I've got a lot to say. 27 minutes late.
He's 2.5 hours late to my show, mate.
Oh, sorry, man. I've got a lot of housework I need to do.
No, to finish the point, like this guy said, don't be surprised to see a dilution. And a dilution naturally means not like another injection of capital. It means another entity coming in and taking a slice of the pie, which might be linking us back to Liberty Media. It might be linking us back to the Iranian fella. I forget his name. Jam Najafi. It might be linking us to any number of things. I don't know. Listen, nothing's happened. I'm not going to sit here and say it like certainly not an ITK. I'm just saying that that was what was said to me. Don't be surprised to see a dilution. And then that would make a little bit more sense, maybe. But you know what? I don't really care about a dilution happening in October if that means that our season finishes, our window finishes with these centre backs that we have and the 6 that we have and losing Harry Kane. Like I don't know, mate. Don't know.
Well, look, Haz, let me same question to you, and then we'll talk to Danny to start talking about the players that are outgoing. Before we do, can I just say it's an absolute travesty that there's 795 people in the house. That's brilliant. But only 187 people have bothered to smash the like button.
Come on, guys.
Smash the like button, and
that's just as disgraceful as Spurs this summer. I mean,
it's almost as bad as Danny Kiriakou. You might as well not even turn up, guys. Just do the Danny.
Yeah. Just do
not here.
Danny Kiriakou. And if anyone did want to subscribe, please do. We passed 8K this morning, so we're now hunting down the 9K. So smash that subscribe button, smash the like button. Just quickly before I come to you, as 2 more channel members, it's gone mad today. Foggy Foam has been in the chats since I started the channel. Big up to you, my man. And also to Kaylee Davis as well. Big up to you, Kaylee. There will be channel member only shows coming your way very, very shortly. And Donovan Davis has said, reality isn't negativity. Keep it real, fellas. Yeah, I'm a pantomime villain. Don't worry about it, Donovan, but thank you so much for the super chat. Does it feel like something's bubbling? Like, I don't know, almost like when a club's about to be sold, or I don't know. It just feels dead, like nothing's going on, nothing.
Look, again, I'm going to go back to last season because the similarities are so uncanny. We had the whole QSI thing last season as well.
Yeah.
And now this season, obviously, we've added the whole John Lewis saga to that as well. So it does feel strange. The timing of it all, no transfers coming in, no one going out.
Yeah.
People dragging their heels over the whole Harry Kane thing. It just feels a bit, what's going on here? Because there's been talk of, are Tottenham going to face sanctions if Joe Lewis is found guilty? Will he have to sell up? This, that, and the other. There's a lot of question marks over the club at the moment. And, it's not only that. Also, you've got to look at the sponsors because we've got quite a lot. We're one of the most sponsored clubs in the league at the moment. Nike being one of them, one of the big ones. And if there's any negativity or anything, any drama surrounding the club, they don't want that. So maybe there is something going on in the background. I don't know. But for me, it's all the timing of it just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up because, yeah,
because this is the moment. This should be the moment that we are active. This should be a hub, a hive of activity. There should, like, other clubs managed to get their stuff done. Like Man United, everyone was going, oh, but Man United still need a goalkeeper and they still need a centre forward. And within a week, they've gone Onana, Højlund, done. And you're like, one was 55 million euros. The other one is 72 million euros or something. Just like that. Spurs, it's like, what are we doing? Like nothing.
Listen,
I'm not even angry. I'm not angry, Haz. I'm not. I'm frustrated. I'm not angry. I can't. I'm gonna let Danny go on a freestyle rant in about 30 seconds.
Listen,
but do you know what I mean, Haz?
I was going to say, we couldn't even afford to fly the players in like premium economy by the looks of it. They were flying in like EasyJet all the way to Australia, if you saw the pictures. So that says that tells you everything that you need to know. You look at other clubs and the planes that they're flying in, and you look at us and they're sitting like that on the plane, and you think, Jesus Christ, these guys are holding back from everything, even the flights. But yeah. Danny, welcome, man. I haven't seen you for ages. Everyone, big up Danny Kiriakou in the house. This guy is different, but his timing is the worst.
It definitely is.
Danny Kiriakou, Danny Kiriakou has been about as visible as Daniel Levy's checkbook for a long, long time. You message me, Mr. G. You don't want to see what I'm like when I'm angry. This is not angry. This is
definitely not Savva angry.
This is not Savva angry. These people have seen me angry. This is not it. Danny, you messaged me and said, I need to come on. I have things to say. So I'm going to set it up for you nicely, Danny. All right?
Cool. I'm
going to set it up for you. In 5 years, we've signed 3 centre-backs. 2 of those are Davinson Sanchez and Joe Rodon, right? Harry Kane isn't going to sign a new contract. We've signed 1 free transfer, a player with 1 year left on his contract who was relegated to the Championship, and a cheap goalkeeper that most people are really disappointed about. We have not bought a new centre-half this window. We don't have a defensive midfielder. Apparently, none of our fullbacks can defend. We don't know where the goals are coming from. Daniel Levy's being Daniel Levy. Scott Munn is missing in action. Danny, take it away. What's going on, my friend?
I mean, look, this club is just an absolute joke, isn't it, really? I mean, it's literally the epitome of what so many of us have said about Spurs for so long. Like, I've been saying this for 10 years about Spurs. Earlier on when I speak, and you've been saying it even longer, right? Like, look, earlier on, right, we were talking on our show, and I said to the guys, I was like, look, I've got to the point now where I'm not even angry anymore. It's like that typical thing. It's like, you know, when a dad goes to you, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Yeah, it's kind of like that now. It's like it's just my anger. I've got so angry to the point now where I've got no anger left to kind of. It's just gone. It's just because the anger's been sucked out of me because of the way this club has just been
Danny,
run.
And just quickly, just before you carry on, do you feel, and I don't know if the others feel this, like I feel like in the last few years, I've got to the stage where I always used to defend Spurs when I'm having banter in football WhatsApp groups or down the pub, and I'd be like, nah, but now I'm at the stage where I'm just like, oh, you're right, we're just bad. You know what I mean? You're just we're bad.
It's like you join in. Yeah, you join in because it's actually funnier to actually join in the joke, right? Because we are a joke. It's like we can't lie. We are a joke, and it's just it's actually just so. As a Spurs fan, right? Ange came in, and a lot of us were like quite positive to think that we've got a manager now who's going to come and play. You can see already he started to implement this type of, let's just say, attacking football, right? And you can see the type of football he wants to play. But you can see that with the defense that we got, nothing's going to change, right? And the fact that the one thing that Ange, from as what I know and some other people in the community know, the first thing he wanted was a centre-back. And we can see already, right, that the change in his kind of demeanor, like over since when he first joined, how positive he was, and then you saw his last kind of few press conferences, how it's like the energy's been sucked out of him as well.
I agree.
it's like he's been given this bad news. Oh, do you know what? It's like the board have gone to Ange and be like, well, you know, the centre back you wanted, we might not be able to get the centre back now, and you might have to utilize Ben Davis, you might have to utilize Dyer, Sanchez might not be going at the club, and Ange's probably sitting there thinking, the F have I done? Like, what is going on? And I think he's probably coming to the realization of what this actual board is like, and it's like he's probably going to try his best, but he probably knows deep down that his best is not going to make any difference to the defense that we have, who've conceded the most Premier League goals ever last season. And I just feel that the way this is going, right, if Kane does leave, that's already a massive thing, because I still don't believe we have enough to kind of be in that top half of the table. I was saying to Sean and the guys earlier on that even if Kane leaves and the team is as it is, we don't go and buy some centre backs, I think we're finishing the bottom half of the table. Like, I don't think we're going to get relegated. Like some people, I know even last season I was saying, oh, we're going to get relegated. If Harry Kane goes, we're done, we're finished. I don't think we'll finish, but I think we'll be in the bottom tier of that bottom half of the table. I reckon we'll finish like 15th, 16th, that type of place, because I don't think...
Hang on. You think we'll finish 15th, 16th if what? If we don't bring in centre-halves and Kane is sold?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's exactly...
I've got us anywhere between 8th and 13th. That's where I've got us. I think there's too many teams below us that are poor. So I'm not worried about, like, when you're saying 15th, 16th, 17th, I think that's a bit of a panic.
Do you know why I say that, Sav? I say that because we always seem to have injury issues all the time. And if you look at, I know we've got a bloated squad right now, right, in terms of a lot of players that maybe shouldn't be in that team.
We've got one game a week, Danny, next season. I'm not excusing it.
That is true. No, that is true. We have got one game week, but still, like, what happens if Richarlison gets injured for 3 months, 4 months? We've got one striker. What if Son goes out for a month? Then we've got no strikers. We've got literally no one, because Harry Kane goes. We know that them two are going to be the strikers next season, right? So my worry is that we don't have enough depth in the right places if someone like Kane goes. And obviously, look, if Kane goes, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know who they're going to bring in. And I was saying to Sean, I think the biggest problem we have at the moment, right, is the fact that our squad is too bloated. Because how can they, even if Kane goes, how can they bring in more? Like all of us are talking like we need 2 centre backs, we need maybe a number 6, like a what's his name, Sangare, or like a Wanyama type player. We need maybe another striker, a younger striker if Harry Kane goes, if Richarlison's a number 9. That's 4 players already, right? And then that's already to add to what, 35 players that we've already got at the moment, right? So we've got to get rid of a load of players and get them off the wage bill. And that's another task in itself. And if we can't do that, how are they going to bring in more players?
Well, look, let's move. That's where I wanted to, good segue. That's where I wanted to move the conversation towards. I'll start with you, Sean. Danny makes a great point. We talked about this on WhatsApp the other day, mate, that... Yeah, look, depending on who you want to put in from the under-23s, we have got a squad there of about 35 to 37 players. If you want to include Dorrington, Sayers, Craig, etc., Parrott and Scarlett. But even without them, even if you remove those 6 or 7, you've got a squad of 30 footballers there.
Yeah.
None of them can defend, right? None of them can. Let's be brutally honest. None of them can defend. None of them are specialist fullbacks, like actual fullbacks. You're on mute. You're on mute, Sean. You're on mute.
When you have 100% possession, no one needs to defend. It's fine.
Yeah, but Sean, look what happens in that one chance that.
Sean solved it. Sean solved the riddle. Don't worry about buying defenders. Just don't give the ball away. No one's allowed to give the ball away.
Fine.
Yeah, but we're not Spurs. Like, the one chance they do give it away, that's it. We concede.
Well, that's what happened against Singapore, and that's what happened 3 times against West Ham.
But this is the problem, Sean, isn't it? There are so many players there, and you and I talked about this earlier. Like, I'm just so surprised. All right, players coming in. We've seen this before where we're all for bringing players in. But, like, I've not seen any of our youth being loaned out. Like, none of our youth are going to any lower level teams. And I know the window's not shut, but none of them have gone down anywhere to play in pre-season for clubs. None of the deadwood has been ripped up. Do you remember Paul O'Keefe put that tweet out on the 20th of May, which is 70 days ago? 70 days today, said... It was literally, I'm not blaming Paul O'Keefe. It must have been information he had from the club was we are going to rip up multiple contracts in the next days.
That might still happen, though, mightn't it? You know,
Sean, it might, but we're 70 days later, and the words he used were ginormous.
Giving away £1.5 million in salary ever since. You know,
ginormous rebuild, and Winks has gone. Like, are they? Like, I don't understand. Sean, I mean, incomings, I get. We normally do this, but outgoing, Sean, come on, like, what's going on?
I don't know what to say to you, mate. Like, yeah, like I think we're all a little bit flabbergasted by it. Like I say, I don't know what the reasons are. Whether it's distractions, whether it's that third party thing that we spoke about. Is there something brewing in the background that we haven't heard about? Even if it is, like, there's a different time to do that stuff, and it's not during a transfer window.
Sean, can I ask you a question, right? Just based on what you just said. Do you guys, for everyone, do you guys actually honestly believe that we're speaking to another company that's going to buy out a majority share? Because I don't believe it for 1 second. I mean, it's a load. It's just, for me, right? This is just another excuse, right, to lay on why maybe we're not doing anything else, because there's potentially a takeover, just like what happened with QSI and the multiple other Bloomberg and all these companies that have apparently wanted to take over Spurs. For me, it's just a distraction from what actually needs to be done, because there's no actual plan in this for this football club. And this for me, it's not happening. They do not want to sell the club. And like, how many times have we all said? Sorry to interrupt you, Sean. By the way, I've kind of just taken over. But
that's right.
It's like
I've been talking for 9 hours. Mate, so. Carry on.
Sean, the worry is if no one stops Danny, he will just speak for 9 hours straight. Like.
Probably, yeah. I mean, like we've said it so many times, right? The only way the club are actually going to sell, if someone serious comes up with that magic number, which for me is at least £5 billion. If someone comes up to Daniel Levy in the club and the board,
well, how much is Man United worth?
Well, they're saying £6 billion, aren't they?
Pounds.
Yeah, £6 billion.
And they got a falling down stadium.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sean,
all in.
Do you know,
if it's all in, I think that's the biggest problem for me is I don't think Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis want to miss out on the property, like the redevelopment stuff, right?
Yeah, but
so I don't know why we just can't separate the two. Just separate the two.
I agree.
You stick to your gentrification thing. You handle that. Let someone else handle the football stuff. Like you don't.
Do you know what, Sean? Do you know what, Sean? I think, right, if they sell the club whenever they decide to sell it, right, I think the magic number is around that $5 billion mark, purely because of what they've got in terms of the stadium, the infrastructure, everything, the NFL, everything they've got connected to it. I still think that the property and the hotel and everything like that, I still think they're going to have some kind of ties to it, even if they sell, so they can still make money from it, even after they've gone. Like, they'll still have. That's how I see it.
That's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with all that stuff. I don't care about whether or not a hotel is built and who gets the money out of it. I want there to be a person who has a better. For me, it's not about it's about the risk appetite. I think that's something I've always stuck to. Is like the appetite for risk is wrong. The guy doesn't see the changing of the winds. He hasn't seen the difference. The redirection of FFP, or what financial fair play looks like now, has shifted 180. It's no longer about percentage of profitability. It's now about percentage of net of revenue. It's a massively different game, and he hasn't made any inclinations to drive in that way. When you look at like teams like Chelsea that have less revenue or about the same revenue of Tottenham as Tottenham, but they have the best accountants in the world that are like doing this. You know, for want of a better word, is if anyone who's watching understands the options market or the derivatives market, there's things called like you push things on the long end of the curve. It's called the yield curve. The long end of the curve and the short end of the curve, and it's a way that people like they push risk, right? They'll take bets on certain commodities or whatever, but they'll guarantee certain prices at certain times in the future, and they'll guarantee other deliverables of certain prices right now. And what it is, without getting off the topic, in a nutshell, it's a way of like pushing risk out, and that is what Chelsea are doing right now with their way of amortizing over periods, and with their clever accounting, they are extending the curve, and that is something that Daniel Levy could be doing. He doesn't. I don't think he.
Do you think though he does that, Sean, for the other side of the business side, not the football side? Do you think he does take those risks
when it comes
to?
If I'm entirely honest, Joe Lewis, as an ex-financial trader, as a forex trader, would know all about the yield curve. He would know all about the forex curve. But I don't know if Daniel Levy would, because it's not something that takes place in property. It's something that takes place in trading, not in property. I don't know what the guys who are behind Todd Bowley's system are into, but I don't know. Like, either way, if you don't know, you hire people that do. All I'm saying is that I think that Daniel Levy is woefully inappropriate for the new version of risk that needs to be applied when you're competing with people that have got bottomless sums of money. And I just think that Daniel Levy is I never did think he had the right appetite for risk, but right now, I don't care, bro. You carry on keeping your yield, sell your apartments, do your hotels and all that stuff, but let someone else take over when it comes to the running of the company.
I completely agree, Sean, right? But you know where you said about how, for example, some clubs have bottomless pits of money. For Todd Bowley, and let's just say Joe Lewis, even though technically he's not the owner of the club anymore, it's the trust. He's got the same amount of wealth as Todd Bowley does. They're literally the same in terms of they're very, very similar. It's like 0.1. It's like 100 million difference.
Yeah, but Todd Bowley's not playing with his money, whereas Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis are playing with their money. That's the difference. Yeah, but if you're playing with other people's money, then it's easier to have a flagrant disregard for risk. If you're playing with your own money, even if you've got obscene amounts,
so you're saying they have investors? You mean Todd Bowley's got other investors that pump money into the club? Is that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Or 90% of Todd Bowley's investment in the club is not his money.
Right. So that's the difference. So if we wanted to, we could probably get that investment from somewhere, but we don't. That's another thing, right? So we could do it if we wanted to, right? If they wanted to go down that kind of method, then Tottenham could have
that would be the beautiful thing, right? You like Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis are sitting there looking at it from a position of it's our money that's in the company, in the football club, right? In the area. So we want to get those yields and those profits because we get 95%, apart from the loan, apart from the loan that we have, 800 million, whatever it is. Apart from that, everything else is us. So therefore, we get 100% of the returns. So profitability is the driver. Whereas with people like Todd Bowley, who's got his Clear Lake Capital behind him, and then behind Clear Lake Capital, you have the PIF fund. When it starts to dilute to the point where if the club's making $1 billion in profit, you personally are only making $1 million here, but you're getting a nice salary from the club, then you're far more able to go, well, let's throw the dice, let's take some risk here. But there's not that same desirability for that when you're all in yourself with your own money. And that's why I think that Daniel Levy now, with the way that the world has gone, the way the wind is moving, with the Saudi money, the Abu Dhabi, all that stuff, I just think it's time for them to go. If you want to, like I say, I've said it 1,000 times, keep your property stuff. If that's what you want to do, keep it. But then let the club go in its own direction. Separate the two.
Just let me, Haz, I want to bring you in here. I want to bring you in. There's somebody that's made a couple of comments that I just find staggering. I just find truly, truly staggering. And if he's trying to get a rise out of me, he has. Not an angry one, but yeah, because I fail to believe that any Spurs fan with sane mind can think like this. So Adrian Parker, big up. I mean, he's a channel member, has said the biggest problem we've got right now is our fans are complaining and embarrassing our club. Now, hold on to that thought, guys. So the fans that are complaining, we're the biggest problem, okay? Let's just bash our own club and give other clubs and fans ammunition. Well done, boys. Now, Haz, I mean, I don't get this, right? Like, I'm all for toxic positivity to a degree. But what is it that we're meant to sit here and say then that's really positive when we haven't addressed the problem issues at the club, when we haven't sold the deadwood, when it's just literally eat, sleep and repeat from the last 4 or 5 windows? How do fans like that manage to make this about us saying that it's not good enough as a window, even though it's rinse repeat from last year, the year before, the year before? How?
Well, first of all, what I would like to know, Adrian Parker, what sort of what is there to be positive about at the moment? If you can let us know in the chat, that'll be fantastic. Look, for me, we've had promises made, you know, especially from Levy himself as well. You know, the stadium's going to help us to achieve X, Y, Z. No trophies in since 2008. We've regressed badly. We've bought players badly. The owners seem like they don't really care about the football club. They're just happy to, you know, tick along with their investments and you know, take what they can for themselves. And all the while, we're trying to sort of mix it with the big boys, calling ourselves a big club. Look, I just find it staggering that people can sort of defend what's going on and turn it around on the people that actually care and want the best for the football club. You know, it's staggering. Look, I get this every day on whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on whatever social media platform. Mm-hmm. I respect everyone's views 100%, but that's not to say I don't question people's views. Same way people question my views. Okay. I would really like to know what sort of positivity there is and why we shouldn't sit here today, tomorrow, next month, or whatever it is, and call out the club for all the mistakes that they're committing at the moment. You know, why? Are you happy with what you're seeing? Are you happy, you know, the club regressing and finishing lower and lower every season? Are you happy with us not winning any trophies season after season? Are you happy with us not being able to offload our crap defenders year after year? Are you happy that, you know, we've got a generational talent in Harry Kane, who's arguably one of the best players we've seen at the football club, and next year he can leave for nothing? You know, I wonder, you know, how can you sit down and say to me, I'm happy with the way Spurs are progressing? Oh, but this is what people will say. Sorry, Savva. This is what
go for it, man. Go for it.
People will say, yeah, but I remember what it was like back in the 90s and those days where we almost got relegated and how bad the club was. And Levy come in and saved us. Yeah, but he saved us. But, you know, don't make promises you can't keep. Don't, you know, give people false hope in the fact that, you know, you're going to do this, that, and the other, and then turn your back on it, because that seems to be what is happening at the moment with our football club. You know, it's Levy saying or giving indications that we were about to head in one direction where we're meant to be going up, but we're sort of going like that. How can you be happy with that? I'm not. You know, there's kids out there today that haven't even seen Spurs lift the cup, or, you know, didn't even know that Spurs have won cups back in the day. You know, it's just it's staggering. It's sorry, but it's not acceptable. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
Yeah, I mean, just slightly off topic. Yeah, listen, I agree. And do you know what? As I've said a million times, I would love to jump on a stream and be like, guys, what a signing that is. They've acted like we should do. We've just signed in Takeover, for example. And I'd love everyone to sit around and talk about, yes, the positive impact this is going to make. But instead, they sit here and watch us not buy a player for a month, not sell a player for a month. And then it's, oh, my God, you guys are well negative. It's like, I just don't know. I don't know what they're seeing that I'm not. I don't.
Do you know what,
didn't they learn? Hang on, Danny, just quickly. Didn't they learn, Danny, from the 63 goals we conceded last year? Haven't they learned by the fact that Harry Kane doesn't want to sign a new contract at this football club? Haven't they learned that we've still got Eric Dyer, Davis, Sanchez, Tanganga, Roden, Sessegnon? Like, haven't they learned, Danny, by now? Like, I'm baffled that this is even a conversation at this point. I thought every Spurs fan should be going, yeah, this is bad. This is poor.
I mean, first of all, right, I genuinely do not understand when people keep saying people like us are negative, we're toxic, and this and that. How can it be negative or toxic when we're literally talking about what's actually happening at the club? Like the actual reality of what's happening by saying
exactly.
How can it be negative? It is not negative. It's just people do not want to come to terms with the reality because it's not FIFA, right?
Exactly.
It's not FIFA. It's like the reality is, right, that like you just said, Sam, we haven't signed a player in a month. We've sold one player this whole window, and biggest
Come
issue
to terms with reality, for the love of God.
You know what?
Terms.
The biggest issue out of all of this is the fact that even if we want to sell players, right, and there are clubs that are interested in some of our players, which is obvious. Every club is interested in every club's players, right? The problem we have is that our club overvalue what the player's market value actually is worth, or what he might be worth to the world. Our club and Levy, like Sean, you were saying earlier, it's like we add like another 10% or 15% on to what the player's worth. So we completely outprice anyone. Yeah, exactly. The asset valuations are wrong by the club. So we completely outprice anyone who wants to come and buy a player from us, which then then gives us this bloated squad that we have, that we can't get rid of players and can't bring in new players. And it's a massive problem because Tottenham do not want to take a hit on the players that they've invested in the past. For example, Davinson Sanchez. They could get rid of him for £5 million if they wanted to. I'm sure there's a lot more clubs would be interested if Tottenham said, right, do you know what? Well, £5 million, you can take him, right? You'll have a lot more clubs in Europe be interested in Davinson Sanchez. I can guarantee you. But then when you start saying £15 million, like we were saying, right? There's a massive issue with finances in Europe and European football, right? So many clubs cannot afford a lot. So that's why they're trying to find smaller. It's only the bigger clubs that can afford things. And the bigger clubs don't want to take our shit players. Sorry for the language. Don't want
and
to take
there goes
our
demonetization, and there goes your money, Savva, in one rant.
Yeah, language, please, people. Language. Just quickly before we move on, guys and girls, there are 958 people in the chat.
Go.
958.
It's a record, isn't it, Sav?
Yeah, I think yes, I think it would be. Yeah, I don't think I've ever hit the 1K before, but only 384 likes. Smash the like button, people. It's really nice and simple. It really does help. And of 920 in here, I'm sure there must be 20, 30 people that have never, ever subscribed. Smash the subscribe button, people.
Oh, wait, I'm 6 subs away from 13K. So if anyone hasn't, can you help me get over the line as well? That'd be awesome.
This guy, I can't do it's backwards, isn't it? This guy up there. Yeah, that way. Thank you, Haz. Yeah, thank you. Please smash the subscribe button, people. You should be, I'm on 8,043. You should be getting me to 8,100 in about 5 minutes.
Come on, guys.
Show the love, people. Look, Sean, let me come to you. Look, I think it is at the stage now where I'm seeing so many people now that have moved. And so as someone who has pivoted, to use your turn of phrase, I think we're slowly seeing it more and more and more. Do you think that this is going to have any ramifications in terms of like protesting or in terms of people not going, or do you just think it's just going to continue to be the same? Because people keep saying they're fed up, but they keep going and merchandise keeps being bought. I mean, it's all a bit strange.
It's a weird one. I know this is going to go down badly, I guess, for some people. But like, listen, I've never felt more angry with the ownership, right? However, I've got a season ticket this year. Am I going to be protesting? Probably not. But I'll walk past it and I'll say hello to people that I recognise, and I'll try not to get punched or whatever from people that don't like me. But my reservation about it, not my reservation. I think the way I see it is, if you look at any political stance, right, there's the extremes that are on both sides. And like in politics, you've got like on the right, you've got racist, on the left, you've got Antifa. I was trying to say this before on Tottenham on tour. And I just feel like there's a lot of the middle ground, a lot of people, that 70% of people that sit somewhere in the middle that are not violently, not vehemently extreme in either world. I sit in there. I have leant one way, now I'm leaning the other way. But I still don't think necessarily that my thoughts on the ownership are represented by those who protest. And I think that, so I'm not there yet. I'm not a protest. I'm certainly not purple and gold or any of that stuff really. But I'm getting there. But I also, I feel like for me personally, like there's an element of people that are on that extreme who sort of demand that everything that comes up, if there's a chance to make it Daniel Levy's fault, then it's Daniel Levy's fault. And I think that sometimes that misses the point. I think two things can be true. I think Daniel Levy can be, inadequate and inept at certain things, but that doesn't mean that everything is his fault. And then if you happen to have an opinion that doesn't make something Daniel Levy's fault, then you're not Levy out enough for some people. And I think that is an issue. I think that everybody should be allowed to find, like water finds its own level. I think that everybody should be able to find their own version of Levy out or their own version of whatever. And for me, I think the people that protest are probably at the moment a little bit too far on the extreme to represent how I feel. And I don't feel as strongly as they do. And so therefore I probably won't be someone that protests just yet. But
do you know what it is, Sean? I think
subject to change, though. They're subject to change for sure.
Do you know what it is? I think. Look, you're right in what you're saying, right? In terms of like where people sit and where people feel about the club and whether they want to protest or not, or go to games, or however they want to do it in their own way, right? For example, for me, like I'm a staunch Levy out person. I've been to the protests. I've gone to as many as I can go to. Now I'm living in another country, so when I am back, I will go to them. I am a season ticket holder still. Right, because I don't want to lose my ticket because look, Levy and the board will be gone at one point. It took me nearly 15 years to get a season ticket, so I don't want to let that go, right? But the other, for what I see, I think it comes to a point where look, you can't. We all love Tottenham Hotspur, right? We all love watching Tottenham Hotspur. It was our team. It does, even if the board is there, the board shouldn't stop you having to want to support your club and watch your team, right? Just because you don't agree with what the board are doing and how they run the club, right? But for me, it's how I see it is that comes a point with everyone where there's a breaking point, and I think there's not enough people in that middle ground that haven't sort of hit their breaking point with the club, where they've got so fed up with it and how everything's going.
Danny, look, immediately, right? I was trying to be as respectful as I could be whilst trying to get my point across. RJ67 tells me to get off my high horse because I'm apparently condescending to people that are anti-Levy. I don't understand why there's people like, if I don't know, just to use the political narrative. There's people that if you lived in America, I lived in America for 3 years. During Donald Trump's reign, there's people that are Donald Trump supporters that just happen to appreciate his politics. There's other people that support him that represent nothing like other Donald Trump versions of Donald Trump supporters. I don't know why you have to be all in or not at all. I don't know why you can't just have an opinion where I'm leaning towards it, but I don't necessarily feel the same way. But now I'm getting called condescending. I don't care. Like I'm welcome all the hate. You understand what I mean?
You shouldn't be called condescending.
There's levels to it. You should be able to find your own level. And if one of them's too extreme and you don't want necessarily. I'm a content creator, so I don't necessarily want to be at that level with those people yet. I don't share the same.
And do you know what, Sean? I think
on Levy out.
I think that's also. I think it's also because I don't feel you feel in the same way as some of us feel with how we feel about the club. Like, for example, for me, if you're comparing yourself, your feelings to the club and my feelings,
mine and yours are different, right?
Exactly. So, or like Savva's feelings or Hass's feelings, right? So we've all got different feelings. But like for me personally, I'm speaking for myself here. I just am fed up with the way the club is run. But I'm a realist, right? And the way I believe that protests work the best is when it's inside the stadium. I've said this from day one. I've said this for years, right? For me, the only way protests work is if you've got 60 or 50 or 40,000 fans in that stadium walking out or stating and singing their discontent with the club and the owners.
Can I ask you a question on this, Danny? Let me ask you a question on this, and I'm just going to stay impartial. I'm not going to lean too far either way. I think everyone knows where I sit with this and have done since 2007. But from what you and Sean were saying there, we're talking about like there's this kind of 70% that aren't, like you get the people like, okay, if I take, for example, like Brian Daigle, me, Stell, you, whoever, there's people that are so far Tottenham out, right? Tottenham out. Yeah, Tottenham out. Sorry. Levy and Enoch, right?
Levy FC, yeah.
Right, yeah. But then you've got the people that are so far Levy in. And then as you guys were saying, you got, if we want to call it the 70%, problem is how much of the match day viewer in a 62,000 seater stadium are comprised of that 70%. So will you ever get the the kind of, I don't want to say the toxic, will you ever get the volume of numbers in support singing that if 70% of them are like in the middle and they don't really care either way?
Well, I think it's going to be, I think, again, it goes back to the point of it's whether those fans, everyone views it in a different way. And it's whether those fans, that middle ground, hit their breaking point or not, where they're like, do you know what? I'm fed up. I'm done. For example, like Richard Cracknell coming out a few months ago saying that he was Levy out basically now because he's fed up with it. And it's
But did he say it? But did he say it?
He came to the protest. He was at the protest standing there with everyone. He's okay. I think I can't remember if he did actually say it or not. He might have. I mean, he might have said it. I'm not. Don't quote me on this, but I'm not 100%. But look, he obviously wants change in the club and the way the club is run. But when I was going to the game, some of the games last season, there were so many people that wanted to start fights with us because of our views on Levy and wanting the club out, and them saying that, oh, look at what he's done, look at the stadium, he's amazing and all this and that. But what we're seeing on the pitch was absolute dross. Like, it was disgraceful, right? And how they've brought in players, how they've kind of not sold the players that have been here far too long. And I think, Savva, the only way you're ever going to get that volume is if every single one of those fans in that 70%, let's just say, right, are like, do you know what? I am done. I am fed up. Nothing is changing. It's the same over and over again. It's just some of us have seen it, maybe, or have realized it a lot sooner than others have realized it. And maybe, as you can see, Savva, over the last year, there's been more and more people who have started to see more and more how the club is run, and maybe the reality of the club and how Daniel Levy does things. And maybe it's just going to take more time for people to kind of see, is this still going to happen? Because what happens if we go into this season, Harry Kane's gone, we bring in one centre-back, and again, we've left with not enough again. It's like, how many times do people need to see it to really understand it? My personal opinion is people like, me and you, Sav, we've seen this we've known this for a long time, and it's the same for Haz as well. But I think there's a lot of people in that middle ground who I think go to, like, I'm going to say it. People want to just go to a football match, have a beer, have a burger, go and watch football, and then that's it. They switch off from Tottenham after they've gone home. They might talk about with their friends for a little bit at work, very briefly, but they're not like me and you or Sean, who we talk about it every day. Like, it's our life. Like, it's
of course,
part of what we do. It's our 9 to 5 as well as our 9 to 5.
Danny, do you know what? That's what always makes me laugh when people come on and go, "Oh my God, Sav, you're talking about football again, Spurs again." It's like, it's kind of like what it's
a content creator, exactly.
Like, look, Haz, let me bring you in here, mate. I think that is the key thing, isn't it? That I don't even think, and bear in mind, I'm about to say this as someone who's been Levy and Enoch out for 16, 15 years. I don't think what they need to do to start winning back some trust and brownie points is even that difficult.
No.
Like, I don't even think that what people, I'll speak for myself. I speak for myself, not everyone else. I'm not sitting here going, go and spend like when people go, oh, we could spend 450 million without FFP. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about this window. James Maddison, brilliant. Goalkeeper, great. Go and get a couple of centre halves. At least then, as fans, like, I don't just mean Longley, go and get a couple of centre halves. Then as a fan, I turn around and I go, sensible, good window, sensible. We've addressed a few key areas. Let those 4 players integrate. Then when we get to January, drop 1 more in. Then next summer we can go for 2 or 3 more. As couple of deadwood out, and I start going. And again, as I said, I speak for myself only. I start going, okay, this is what I want to see, but we can't even get 1 window right, and that is the biggest issue, isn't it? It's not. We're not asking for miracles. I'm not asking for Bastoni or Vardial or Barella or Rasmus Højlund. I'm not asking for Højlund. I'm not asking for Mason Mount at 65 million. Sorry, turn it to a rant.
I mean, look, I think the key word you're looking for here, Savva, is ambition. The club don't show that level of ambition that we crave. Okay, now I use Aston Villa again because. And the reason why I use Aston Villa as an example is because they've gone down. They went down to the Championship. They've come back up. They've brought in a top manager, and they're doing bits. They're in Europe next season. They've identified their targets. They went out and got Pau Torres in a couple of weeks, where we haggled and dillied and dallied over it when we were after him. And to me, that shows ambition,
And all that can we just mention all that as well? 4 years ago in the Championship, in that time, they've lost their talisman. They lost their best player and have actually galvanised and built from that. Now, listen, Sean and I, we've had this conversation about Villa. I'm not saying they're this amazing club, but if they continue to do what they're doing this window, and if they do it again next window, and then go again, you start to see sensible. What do we need? We need a centre back.
Yeah. Do you know what it is, Sav?
I can even use Brighton. Sorry, I can even use Brighton in that sort of comparison as well. And the player that I'm going to use, right? James Milner. Everyone's going to say, but hear what I'm going to say. Everyone's going to say, yeah, but James Milner, he's old now. Hold on a minute. They've brought in James Milner for a reason. Yeah. They're in Europe next season. All right. He brings experience. He knows the Premier League inside out. He's won pretty much everything there is to win. Okay. They've brought a winner in because they're ambitious. They want their club to learn from. They want their players to learn from that. All right. What are
experience,
we doing?
Right? An experience.
You know what it is?
We've been going on about getting a centre back so that they can play alongside Romero, so that he can get a bit of experience back there and this, that, and the other. What are we doing? Like,
do you know what? Right, I think Spurs fans would be happy, right, if the club actually just went out and did what we just needed to do. And what I mean by that is go and get the players we need. Like we need 2 centre backs, we need a midfielder. If we go and do that, I'm guarantee you, Spurs fans, if we got like a decent level of centre backs who are better than what we've got and a decent number 6, Spurs fans will be much happier than what we are, how we're feeling right now. It's like Aston Villa went out and they needed a winger. They went and got Diaby. They needed a centre back. They got Torres. They brought in Tielemans, right, for free, right? They've gone out and got what they needed. And it's like every single window, what we've had is we never ever get everything we need or
they
just
haven't
about
got everything they need, though.
No, not yet, but they've done a lot better than what we've done this window.
They're doing.
But the thing is, Sean, I think when you look at their last 4 or 5 signings, it's all every time it's addressing a need. They desperately needed a left back.
Yeah.
First signing Moreno. They desperately needed a centre back, Pau Torres. They desperately needed a wide forward, Diaby. And what you'll notice, and Tielemans is there to add squad depth because they're in Europe. But what you'll notice is all of those players were Aston Villa's first choice that they went out, bid for, were bidding against other clubs. Imagine us bidding against other clubs, and got the deals over the line. I'm not sitting here saying Villa are the be all and end all, but 4 years ago we were in a Champions League final. We're going this way. 4 years ago, Villa were in the Championship, and Henry on a stream the other day, Henry brought up the Aston Villa team. From the year they got promoted to now, the entire squad just ripped apart. Then we looked at the Spurs squad, and it's like, oh my God, there's just so many still here. That's what I think gets people, guys.
Yep, exactly.
I'm not saying Villa are amazing, but how do Villa and Brighton, 2 teams who were in the Championship when we were in the Champions League final, how are they so well run?
Because
we have got all this money, this massive stadium. Why is it so difficult for us to buy centre backs?
It's not only that, right? The club.
You think we won't have a centre back?
Huh?
Anyone?
Sorry.
Do you think we're not going to end up with centre backs?
I think we'll get one.
I think we will. Sorry,
No, sorry. I was going to say. Before that, I was just going to say the club are also alienating those that want a bit of success for the club by increasing ticket prices as well. In a season where we're not even in Europe, okay? How is that showing? That if that doesn't show you, right, that this ownership are just money hungry and power hungry, okay, then I don't know what does. Because right now, what we should be doing...
I don't agree about the ticket prices.
We're out of Europe, right? We should be spending money to get back where we need to be. We should be investing in the club, in the players that we need to get back to where we want to be. We're not doing that. Okay. Instead, we're alienating people. We're creating division amongst ourselves. And it's just not going anywhere, is it? Let's be honest. Going back to what you said earlier on, Sean, about, how everyone directs the blame towards Levy for this, Levy for that. What I would ask you is, who else can we blame? Who else can we direct our anger to? Not anger, but who else can we address in terms of our concerns and everything else? If you tell me who else, then, because for me, if you're the owner of a company or whatever, fair enough, there's a chain of command. But at Spurs, I see him as the chain of command, the person where everything stops. I don't know anyone else below him or whatever where we can say,
there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with using the argument of the buck stops at the top. So there's 100 times. If you're going to do that argument, then you have to be consistent with it. And when you're reflecting on the part, and this is why I say there's different levels to Levy out. There's certain people that will tell you that Daniel Levy he's a parasite of the football club. He's a cancer. Him and Joe Lewis, they've done nothing but horrible things. There's nothing, blah, 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 blah. And every time that there is, like, if a bird poos on you on the way to the stadium, that's somehow Daniel Levy's fault. If you get a stale beer, the side is flat, that's Daniel Levy's fault. If the chips were cold, Daniel Levy. It's fine if you want to take the argument that the buck stops at the top and you want to criticize him for everything, that's fine. But I never hear the same people give the credit where it's due when it's due.
I would give
you might has, and I'm not putting at any particular people here. Like I say, I am someone who comes across to people in the community as being a Levy sympathizer or a defender of Levy. I'm not. I've never have been. I've always criticised him where I think he deserves criticism. I've always said I'm more than happy for him to leave the club when the time is right, if the money's right, as long as we get a better chairman in. But what I don't tolerate is people who position irrational and illogical arguments. So I'm not defending Daniel Levy. I'm defending logic in a debate. And people tell me that everything is Daniel Levy's fault, and I say, well, what about when we got to the state? When we got to the final here? What about when we did this there? What about when we got? No, that was down to luck, or that was down to Pochettino, or that was down to Martin Yeo, or that was like, you can't have it both ways. If you're going to criticize Daniel Levy for everything,
I agree.
I agree as well.
No, sure. Can I just say, I agree. Look, I'm as someone who's very much Daniel Levy in and out. What I will say is, what I can't ever do is turn around and say it's Daniel Levy's fault that we didn't win the cup finals we were in. If you've got to a cup final, that is now not on your chairman. That is, you can't get to a cup final, be good enough to get to a cup final.
Not just that, Savva. Not just that. It's not just not on him. But if you're criticizing him for the lack of trophies, then you should credit him for getting you to the final. If everything is on him, then the fact we got to 6 finals and didn't win, you should credit him for getting there. But do you know the difficulty? It's always the negatives on him and the positives are on someone else.
I hear you.
And that is not consistent. And that's what I defend against. Illogical, irrational, inconsistent logic.
I hear you. I think the difficulty is, if I'm going to try and be level-headed about this, I think the difficulty with this is because from those moments when we're there and you think, okay, can we kick on? That's when the club just stands still. So I'm not. Listen, I think I've always been quite open and honest about this, Sean. Yeah, I can't blame Daniel Levy for cup finals where we've lost. I can't, because you can't say, oh my God, Daniel Levy gave the managers everything they need to get to the final, but then the day before the final, all of a sudden it's Levy's fault. I can't do that. 100%. What I can do is say that the number of times where we've been there and you just need something to push you up to there.
Yeah, I agree.
Is where we go, boom, 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 boom. And the last 4 or 5 years has just been disaster after disaster in terms of people he's hired that aren't right for the club, players that we've signed. Every time we try to do a deal, it just feels like it's a complete ball ache. Every deal. Other clubs, and this is where I say, like about Villa, about Brighton, how are clubs like that just going out and going, all right, yeah, we'll take Igor. Yeah, we'll take Diaby, Pau Torres. But when it's a Van de Ven, it's a whole big ordeal and we can't get it done. That's why I think people are so frustrated, because we've seen this time after time in these transfer windows. And we all knew it deep down coming in, right? We knew it deep down. We all said Like Van der Ven, that's a great signing. That's a Postecoglou signing, not a massively expensive player, a young man that he can build and grow. He's a bit raw. Yeah, Levy will at least get that done. You're sitting here 5 weeks after we first contacted them going, oh my God, we can't even get that done. That is why I think people are so frustrated with Daniel Levy.
Do you know, also, right, what you were saying about like how Daniel Levy can't be blamed if we haven't won a final. I mean, if we're talking about winning finals or doing like in the being those situations, I think in a final, I think everyone is to blame, including the owners. It's not just the owner or the players or the manager. It's everyone because first of all, it's that the owners are the ones that have to give the manager the tools that he needs in terms of squad depth and squad quality in order to go and win a final, right? All the teams that do win the finals tend to be either have a really good moment or on the day, everything it goes for them. All the decisions go for them. They get lucky, or it tends to be the biggest clubs with the best players, right? They're the ones who seem to win all the trophies, right? So it's always hard to compete against them. I think where Tottenham fans get so annoyed by the owners is when the owners are not giving the managers enough quality on the pitch to help achieve those results in those big moments. Like you said, Sav, we've been many times. I mean, we've been many times where we've been kind of there, and we just need that little bit more just to kind of make us kind of really compete, really try and push for a trophy. And they haven't done it.
Was our squad better than Leicester's in 2017?
Probably, yeah, but our first 11 was definitely better than Leicester's, 100 million %.
But everyone uses Leicester as the reason to bash Daniel Levy because they won a trophy, rather than criticising the fact that the team that we had was better than Leicester.
Danny, he's got a point. Our squad was better than Leicester's.
Our squad was better than Leicester's, right? But we had.
I'm not asking.
No, hold on. One thing.
Let me clarify. Just let Danny 1 second. Just give me 10 seconds. I'm not asking people to bash. I'm not asking people to credit Daniel Levy for getting us to second. I'm not. I'm just saying be consistent. But the inconsistency is rather than saying Tottenham had a better season, a better squad than Leicester, people would rather turn it into a mechanism to bash Daniel Levy because Leicester won the trophy before Tottenham have. Yet it was the team that we had and the manager that we had that couldn't beat Ranieri's Leicester. So that, again, it's just an inconsistency that pisses me off. I feel the same as most
I get what you're saying,
like
Sean.
Debate to be rational.
Hang on, can someone have a go at this guy for me? I can't believe he's called me old. Stick to old man. Look at me. I think I look 10 years younger than I am, you cheeky git. but whilst you're here, Luciano, smash the likes, keep watching. You're making me money, mate.
You need it for your pension, Savva. You need it for your pension, bro.
Sorry, I just saw it and I went, strappy, and I was like, oh, okay, it's waffling because it keeps coming back. Yeah, Danny, go on. I mean, Sean has got a point there, right? Like, look, he's got it was an anomaly the year Leicester won it. Of course, that's an anomaly. But
we did have what you said, though, Savva, about not kicking on from there.
I agree. But Sean, without, sorry, I'm going to speak for Sean. He'll tell me if I'm wrong. But what Sean's argument to that will be was, yeah, okay, Daniel Levy's wrong because we didn't kick on from there. But what about in that season where we had the better squad? That's not on Daniel Levy. That was on Poch and the players. I don't know.
It is. But also, rather than the criticism being held at Tottenham, at the players and the other areas, instead, the stick is used against Daniel Levy because Leicester City won a trophy before us. Even though we should have beaten Leicester. Because there's no consistency with the logic.
But that's just irrational thinking, though, Sean. People.
And that's what I have a problem with.
Yeah, no, I agree. But when it comes to also winning things, right? There's variables to it as well. There's many variables to an outcome of a season, outcome of a result, right? For example, in the season that Leicester won that title, I think we probably played the best football in the league, right? We were the best team in the league. We should have won that title, right? Obviously. We can also say variables towards injuries. We had a lot more injury issues than they had the whole season. They had their core squad together for the majority of the season. We had a lot of big injuries. Kane was out for 3 months, if I'm not mistaken. So we had massive injuries to key players when they didn't have injuries to key players. and also they didn't have as many competitions they had to play in like we did, right? So you have those kind of variables you have to look at as well. Leicester only had the one game a week they had to play. They weren't in Europe, so they didn't have all they had to do was focus on just that, right? That is a variable, right? Also, you have to look at the ambition of what the club is. When in that moment, they're not sitting there at the beginning of the season thinking, right, we're going to win the league. But when they were in a point where they all felt, right, do you know what? We actually could kick on. We actually believe in ourselves. I think what happened was you got the belief from the whole club, everyone within the club, the owners, the board, the staff, everyone. And I don't think that Tottenham have ever had that full belief from everyone in the club. And I'm talking the board, the owners, the staff. There was always something missing, and I think also obviously we can also blame the players, the manager, because I also blame Poch for a lot of our downfalls, why we never kicked on and actually won a trophy. I think in the biggest moments he made big mistakes, but I think you can't just narrow it down to just one thing. I think everything plays a part in it, and that's all I say. When I say Daniel Levy is to blame for a lot of the things, it's not just him. You're right. It's a lot more than that. But he is a big part of it because he is the owner of the club or the chairman of the club.
The purpose of my rant, the purpose of me clarifying this for the last time is not because I'm in defense of Daniel Levy.
Of course.
The reason why I've clarified my position for the 100th time is because the second that I hear silly, irrational arguments, I call it out. And people, like I've seen tonight in the comments, go, Sean, you're a Levy-in shill, you're a murder, all that. But I don't care. Like, you can say what you think, but I am not. I'm very happy to hate on Daniel Levy in all the ways that you hate on him for the reasons that are justified. But I just like consistency in logic. And that's when I call it out and I sound like I'm defending Daniel Levy, I'm not. I'm really just critiquing other people's poor take.
But just quickly, one thing I want to bring up. Sorry, just quickly, Danny. People keep saying, listen, and by the way, you have to remember, I'm just sitting in the middle here. I am very much Levy out. I think everyone knows that, right? I think a lot of people are saying things like, yeah, this final, you can absolutely blame on Daniel Levy. Yes, of course.
That's what I was going to mention.
But that doesn't mean that every final or semi-final was the same. For me, I think like where I got really frustrated was when we did have that brilliant 11. And then in semi-finals of cups, Poch started tinkering, and you were like, "What are you doing?" Yeah. Like we got to the FA Cup semi-final.
I was at that game.
I can't remember.
The game FA Cup semi-final.
The game against Chelsea. Yeah. When he started tinkering and putting Son at left wing back and all of that, and you're thinking, "What are you doing?" Yeah. Then I think the year later or before, whichever way around it was, against Man United in a cup semi-final, and he dropped Lloris and he dropped Walker, and you're like, what are you doing? Then big games like in the Arsenal, the North London derby at the Emirates, where he dropped Toby Alderweireld for 1-5, and then Aubameyang just completely ruined us and they scored 4 goals. So look, I get it. I hate Levy as much as the next person who hates Levy. This final, absolutely, this was shocking. But I can't turn around and say every big final or semi we've lost has been Daniel Levy's fault.
No, definitely not.
That would be like the Champions League final. The Champions League final, Liverpool were awful.
Yeah,
Liverpool were awful. We didn't turn up. So I get it. Sean's point to that, I'm guessing, is, what if we turned up in that final and won? Would the energy still be the same towards the owners? And it's a good talking point.
Yeah,
it is. It's a good, and
I think, do you know what, Sav? I think there'll definitely be less of this talk if Tottenham had turned up with a Champions League trophy of the owners causing a problem, because 100%. But I do believe there'll be more credit towards the manager than they would be to the owners, because he had to work with what he had, and what we had starting a Champions League final with Moussa Sissoko and Harry Winks, and to go on and win a final with them two starting would be just one of the most unbelievable achievements, right?
But then the counter argument to that, and again, I'm just sitting on the fence. This isn't my position. This is my show. I'm trying to cause some. The counter argument to that would be, well, hang on. We got to the final with Winks and Sissoko. That would be the argument. Hang on. We knocked Man City out. Yeah. Right? We knocked Ajax out. Right? But then you get to the final and all of a sudden it's, well, hang on, he only provided Winks and Sissoko. Yeah. So I get it what Sean's saying. The narrative only suits when
in my honest opinion, I don't think we deserve to even get to that final. It's pure luck the way we
No,
got
I
to
agree.
the final.
I agree.
That season.
Yeah, we were awful. But I think where this narrative, a lot of the narrative comes from, I think it doesn't help the board when they do silly things like sack a manager 6 days before a final, because it gives you the impression that they don't really care about winning trophies, which is what fans want to see, right?
Sure.
It helps the argument of, oh, they don't give a S about the club, or they don't care about it. They don't care about trophies, right? And it just adds on. It adds fuel to the fire, essentially, to people's opinions of the board. And that, I think that's where it doesn't help them. And this is where it gives you that narrative that they don't care about the club. And I think that's where it stems from. A lot of it, anyway.
Yeah, let me get some super chats really quickly, then I'll come to you, Haz. There are Phil P is in the house and said, "Can any of the plan?" Let me start that again. Can any of the panel play centre back? Asking for a friend. I'll change that word to. Phil Haz is your man. He's going to play left centre back. And Eric Dyer can be sold. Thank you so much, Phil. Listen, we all know we need centre backs now. Graham 30 has just said, big up Savva in the panel. Thank you so much, Graham. Big up to you as well. Spartan 7, who just became a new channel member this morning. Big up to you. Has said, I just want some resemblance of a plan. And if it had communicated to us also, why still no naming rights to the stadium as well? We'll talk about that in a minute, because that is something I think that has baffled a lot of people. And then loves music as well. I said Leicester just kept on winning. We were helpless. Yeah, I mean, look, listen, these things happen. You have anomalies. But listen, thank you, everyone, for the super chats. What I will say is, please keep subscribing, people. Keep liking. There's 887 of you in here. There's 903 of you in here right now. It's just gone up. If we can get 20 people to subscribe, it would be absolutely brilliant.
Come on, guys.
Hopefully you'll appreciate that, there are differences of opinions on a panel without any arguing. It's called debate. So please smash the like button. Please subscribe, and please keep it nice in the chat. Yeah. Sean, I'm seeing lots of people saying Sean's a Levy in. He's never, ever said that. If you actually listen to what he's saying.
Sean, you Levy inner.
I've always been Levy sell. I just don't think that Levy out represents me. I just don't think, because I think that people that are Levy out have a general historical take that's based on a little bit of resentment about the ownership, and I don't share it from the years 2002 to 2018. 2019 onwards, I'm like, well, it's getting tricky, getting bad, it's getting poor. Just because I don't subscribe to 100% everything is Daniel Levy's fault does not make me not Levy out. Or I'm not. I want him to go. I don't attach myself to the same moniker as you guys who feel stronger about it than I do.
Yeah, listen, I think, Sean, I think you hold the argument really well. I do. I mean, look, just quickly before we move on, guys and girls, this comment got me. It was aimed at you, Danny. Jay Ashraf said, Danny, why have we not approached Laporte? He's not being linked with anyone. I mean, Danny, I'll back onto this, but we can't even get Van der Ven over the line. What chance to get one of the best centre backs in the league who plays for France, for Spain, and the treble winners? I don't know. What do you make of it?
We're never going to get someone like Laporte. It's just not going to happen, because firstly, why is he going to come from a treble winning team to a team that's not even in Europe, right? I mean, I know if they do the Gvardiol deal, Man City, I'm sure there'll be many other top clubs in Europe that would take Laporte. I'm sure someone like probably Arsenal. Arsenal seems to have every other opportunity to sign Man City players. So I'm sure they'll probably take him, and he'll be an improvement on what they've got already. And look, he's never in a million years going to come to Tottenham unless we somehow offer him like a captain role or like just 300 grand a week, or you give him something stupid wages, and maybe he might come, but he's never coming to Spurs ever. He's never ever going to Spurs.
I can't see it. Guys, listen, I want to go for another 15. That's all. Look, I'm hoping that there can be some positives. And I'm going to say a sentence, guys, that I feel like I might have said this to Sean and Henry, especially, a million times in the last month or so. Surely this week would be the week we see some activity like ins and outs, because guys, in less than 14 days, we kick off our season. And at the moment, we're going into another season with Eric Dyer or Ben Davis partnering Romero as centre half.
Can we ask a quick comment section input here?
Go for it.
If the squad is as it looks right now, bang as the same, right? So Kane is still here, but there's no new centre backs, and we're going up against Brentford with how Brentford look right now. What does everyone in the comments think the score will be? Remember, Tottenham are the away team.
Yeah,
I've already said it. I want
to see a bunch of 5-4s and stuff.
5-3 Brentford. 5-3 Brentford.
Yeah, that's a good question. I watched their game earlier. I thought they looked fit. They looked sharp. They all know their duties. They look on it. Again, no superstars. No Ivan Toney. No David Raya, but just seamlessly slotted into where they left off. I'm worried. I'm worried, and we shouldn't be worried. No offense to Brent, we shouldn't be worried about playing. And again, another team that's been in the Premier League for 2 years now. Before we go on to what I just asked, what do you make of that? Brentford's first day, they're looking sharp and on it. We've played the Lions, City Sailors, and West Ham's B team, and haven't got a game until next Sunday, which blows my mind. What do you make of it?
I would say to that, how the mighty have fallen. An established Premier League club such as us, who've been, in the upper echelons, top 6, top 5, top 3, top 2, shouldn't even be discussing whether we're going to lose to Brentford on the opening game of the season. Shouldn't even, even be a topic of discussion, But here we are, we're discussing whether we're going to lose a game against Brentford, a club that's been in the league for two seasons. It just beggars belief, innit, really? And that just, for me, it shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening. We are the established side in the league. All right. We're the ones who've been in Europe season after season, Champions League football, best striker in the league for God knows how many seasons. And we're discussing whether we're going to lose to Brentford on the opening game of the season. So for me, it shouldn't even be a discussion, but it is.
Apologies for asking the question, Has.
Sorry?
I apologise for asking the question.
No. The question.
I just wanted to know what the scoreline was going to be. I didn't say we were going to lose.
But if things were normal, wouldn't even be talking about it. But as is the situation at the club at the moment, it's just an indication of where we are. We're at 6s and 7s. As for the game itself, I think there'll be goals in it. I think we could possibly get a couple of goals, but we're leaky at the back. It's simple as that. They will score. If a part-timer from the Lions, City Sailors or whatever they're called gets a goal against us just from hoofing the long ball into the box. Imagine
that guy had the guy who took on Udogie. And Udogie showed him the inside, and he popped that ball across. He had a market value of €100,000.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Exactly. So imagine when we come up against the Brentford with that defence, and this is why everyone's going on about it. Defenders, we need solid defence. It's not only centre backs. I think we're in trouble if we play the likes of Porro or at fullback as well, because none of them can defend. None of them can defend. And as much as, I never thought I'd say it, I'd rather go with Emerson at at right back for just for his defensive capabilities, because for me, we're in trouble next season, because if the defenders, centre-backs can't defend, the full-backs can't defend, well, who can defend?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be brutally honest, Danny.
Harry Kane was our best clearance maker last year. Danny, you were saying?
Yeah. No, yeah, it was who was saying it on our? It was Johnny was saying that apparently from corners, Harry Kane made the most clearances out of any Tottenham player from corners. So he made more defensive clearances than our actual defenders from corners. How can you believe? That's
Are
insane.
you saying we should keep him and play him at centre half?
I think he'd be a better centre half than what we got.
That is a shout, you know. That is a shout.
I mean, I wonder what the stat is for how many times Harry Kane's cleared the ball off the line as well. I can remember quite a few last season. I mean, It just
all feels a bit obvious, doesn't it? You buy a couple of centre halves who can head a ball, and all of a sudden, a lot of these very basic issues do tend to go away. Let me just ask you quickly then. Just give me a prediction then. As it stands right now, 14 days, Spurs will. I don't even think we'll have one on in by then. We've been so bad. Give me a score prediction. Tottenham away at Brentford as it stands right now.
As it stands right now, I'm going to say straight up 3-1 Brentford. We'll get a goal, but they'll knuckle up and defend and catch us with that high line that we're playing and the defenders that we've got. Yeah, 3-1.
Okay, Danny.
I think it'll be 5-3 Brentford. I've just got a funny feeling. I think we're gonna be
You go back to the Ozzy Ardiles days, are you?
Honestly, Sav, the way I see it at the moment, I just picture Ozzy Ardiles days at this moment in time, because I think we're gonna go gung ho. We're gonna be very attacking, but when they break, they are gonna break and they're gonna score, and we're gonna concede a lot of goals, but we're also gonna score quite a few goals. I think the way we've seen in preseason, we're quite relentless. Like, we don't stop. Like in the two games that I've seen them, we don't stop, but we concede. And I think we will score goals. I don't think we won't. I think we will score goals, but I just think we'll concede more. And unless we get that defense sorted, I think that's how the kind of season I see us going as well. I think
the defense sorted or close the ratio of the conversions of chances to goals. Because against Sailors, James Maddison had 7 chances. I think he made 2. He had 2 on target and 4 or 5 off.
Yeah.
Right. I think you make the same for Losel. So Solomon, Decky, Sonny, Richarlison. Like, these guys need to get their shooting boots on. If we can get 20 shots on goal on average per game, and we can score 5 goals, then we might just have enough to win a few games.
How many chances are we going to concede? What I watched today with Brentford is they're very good at hitting the guys down the channel very quickly. I noticed that a lot today, and straight away that made me think high line. And you think Villa have got some pace at the back there with people like Tyrone Mings. And
can you go to Spurs Digest comment at 9:42, please?
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
If that's all right.
Yeah. He's put in another angle. He's put in 3 or 4 that I want to bring up. I love people like this. Hang on, 9:42. I'm stuck on 9:39. 1 second. 9:41. 9:42. Right. Let me, guys. I'm going to bring them up 4 in a row, and then I'll let you out. It has right. So this guy. I said this, non-stop negativity. You literally have zero faith in Ange being able to get a tune out of what he has got. So, guys, don't worry. Poch couldn't get it out of these defenders. Jose couldn't. Conte couldn't. Nuno couldn't. Mason couldn't. But don't worry. Spurs Digest thinks that Ange can get these guys to defend, even though we've seen in the first 2 games where we've been dominant that we can't defend. He's gone on to say, awful takes for this panel, pure negativity. I, for one, am very confident in Ange. It's not Ange I'm worried about, mate. It's not Ange. It's the defenders. He's gone on to say, Newcastle fans said the exact same thing about Almiron, Joe Linton, etc. But then Eddie Howe comes in and gets a tune for them. Go figure. And he's finished off with absolute jokers, predicting a Brentford win. The absolute state of this fan base, led by this panel. It's embarrassing. Guys...
We're leading the fan base.
Yes.
Can I say to that?
Hang on, Has, take your moment. You are now part of the 4 fans that run the Tottenham fan base. Wear it with pride. Everyone listen to us. It has, go for it, because if I go for it, I will get massively demonetized. I can't stand, and I'm going to say it, I can't stand absolute morons like this. It's absolutely breathtaking how these idiots don't understand our football club. But that's all I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, I was going to say, I don't know how long Spurs Digest has been watching the show, or even if he was listening, because
I don't think he's been watching.
I'll go back to the question, which Savva asked was, with the current team we have at the moment, how do you see the scoreline? Okay, that was the question. With the current state of the club at the of the squad at the moment, is how we gave our predictions. All right, so maybe perhaps listen to the show in the future if you want to comment. Secondly, look, I'm going to say it, but it's just people like you that fail to sort of see what's going on, fail to even listen, or fail to acknowledge the problems at the club that are part of the problem. And I'm going to say that outright. You know,
I'll at least give him some credit that I think there is an argument. I made it a few times that the squad doesn't need to necessarily change on paper. In principally, the squad doesn't need to change for there to be a measurable difference when a new system comes in. We see it with Aston Villa, and we did see it with Newcastle. So the third comment that he made that wasn't quite as antagonistic about with Joe Linton and stuff, I think that was a reasonable point. But when you sandwich it with
that's the point, Sean.
When we're leading the negativity brigade, and we are the representatives of the entire fan base.
Listen, what I don't get about it is what I don't get about it is, first of all, Spurs Digest, when you say here comes the abuse, someone disagrees, the abuse. It's not about disagreeing. It's the fact that you didn't just say, guys, I actually think that Ange can do this. It's that you kept coming in going, the negativity. Listen, I don't know about you, right? But I watch Spurs every game. I'd like to think everyone here does, right? And I have for years, for Dyer for 10 years, for Davis for 10 years, for Sanchez for 6 years, for Rodon, Tanganga. I don't know how many years I have to see these guys can't be coached to defend. These guys also digest, whatever your name is, what's his name? Digest something, Spurs Digest. They don't suit. You're talking about you have faith in Ange Postecoglou. Learn what he does then. If you've got faith in a manager, learn his formation and philosophy. His formation and philosophy is a high line where he has a quick defender that can get back and recover and good on the ball. We don't have that. So before you turn around and say we're all negative, if we're all negative, why is every fan in the fan base desperate for new centre halves? Why? If we're all so negative, why is everyone after centre halves? And if we don't need centre halves, how comes we keep conceding like 63 goals in a season? I just can't make it make sense.
I can't make it make sense. That it does. It's like I'm not trying to disrespect the Spurs Digest, but to me, it's like
I don't care.
Look, do you know what? It's like he doesn't watch Spurs. I like where's he been all these years? Like, honestly, I'm going to ask you, Spurs, where have you actually been all these years? Because I don't know what you're watching, but like Sav just said, none of those players. How many elite defensive coaches have tried to coach these players? Right? Elite defensive coaches, like Conte and Mourinho. To Jose Mourinho, one of the best of all time, right? Couldn't coach these players. So how is Ange Postecoglou, who plays attacking football, going to coach these players to defend? It's just impossible, right?
I told you, you ain't got to defend when you got 100% possession.
Just make me laugh. Do you know what we've seen? We've seen in 2 games, right? I think against West Ham, it was something like 77% possession. Against the Lion City Sailors, it's embarrassing that I have to remember that. Against the Lion City Sailors, we had something like 81%, right? The Lion City Sailors sprung us once in the entire first half. Once. And look how easy they beat that back line. From Udogie, from Davis giving it away to Udogie stepping off to the ball in where Porro couldn't clear his lines. I mean,
where was Romero as well? Was he on?
Where was Romero? The first game, where was Romero and Tanganga to head the ball clear? Where was Reguilon being able to defend and Sanchez making the mistake? We're seeing the same thing game in, game out.
Do you know what it is, Savva? Do you know what it is with those defenders? I'll tell you what it is, right? It's 2 things why these defenders cannot defend, right? The first thing is concentration, and the second thing is communication, right?
Sure.
They are the 2 reasons why none of our defenders can defend properly as a unit or intelligently, right? Or positionally aware of their surroundings, because they don't concentrate, so they switch off constantly, right? And the second thing is they're all over the place because they don't communicate with each other. And you see it time and time again. And all these managers have tried to get this communication and concentration into them, right? How many times did Conte say, if Davinson Sanchez concentrated for 100% of the game, he'd actually be a good defender, right? But he doesn't, because that one time he switches off, he falls over himself.
But Danny, this is the thing. Let's bring up some stats.
Yeah.
Our worst defensive season in Premier League history, where 5 teams conceded more than us. 5. 3 of those 5
went down,
got relegated. Yep. So that means of the 17 teams that remained in the Premier League, we have one of the worst. We're in the bottom 3 of the 17 that stayed up defense. But don't worry, suddenly they're going to become good defenders, even though we've witnessed in his 2 games that they aren't. And we haven't played any games since or strengthened the back line. Oh, and by the way, also, when all they were... I'm so angry at these people. All they were tasked with doing last year, guys, was sitting back and defending. And they couldn't do it. Now they're going to be tasked with concentrating, high line, when to go, when to stay. And we think they're going to be okay. It's utter madness. This isn't about me knocking Postecoglou. I'm a big fan of Postecoglou.
We all support Postecoglou. We all want...
He is not the issue. I just can't.
Can I ask you a question, Sav?
It might become the issue though at some point.
Did you see what Postecoglou said about Ben Davies? Did you see those quotes?
Yeah.
What did you? Is that a Postecoglou system or is that a Daniel Levy problem? Because Daniel Levy's had a quiet word in his show, like, because that's what I was hearing earlier. I
want to ask you guys.
We can't blame Ange for saying something like positive, so it must clearly have come from Daniel Levy. Can I read the Ange? You've got to throw out some superlatives about Ben Davies because he's going to be your left back and your centre back next year. That's the irrational nonsense that I'm talking about.
Can I ask you, right? So
we're playing with 10 men. Davis is doing the left back and centre half at the same time.
Sam, what do you actually make? What did you guys make of those comments that Anne said? Because that was the first thing that
it felt to me the comments of someone that knows this is what he's working with.
Yes.
And has to put some...
We're dealing with Daniel Levy again.
Mate, listen. I'll tell you where it's Daniel Levy's fault. Who on earth? Last year, when his contract had 2 years left to run, who decided that he needed an extra year on top of his contract?
Didn't Conte ask for Ben Davies to get a contract?
Yeah, possibly. I don't know.
God.
I don't know.
Come on.
I'm pretty sure that was the story at the time.
No chance. No chance. There's no way Conte's sitting there thinking Ben Davies is the guy he wants in his defence.
But
come on.
If anyone watches these defenders and goes, do you know what they need? They don't need 2 of the best defensive managers of the last 2 decades. What they need is a really attacking pressing manager to get the best out of them.
Yeah, it's just bonkers.
It's bonkers. Do you know what? It's like me saying a striker who can't score goals. You know what he needs?
Richarlison.
He needs more time on the bench where he's not playing. You know, you're like, no, he don't. He needs more time.
It's okay though, because Spurs Digest says we don't keep conceding 63 goals a season, just one season.
Just one season is all right.
Next season we'll concede 92. So there you go.
At the moment, our centre back situation is weaker than it was last season because our best centre back of last season is currently not at the club anymore.
Just quickly, Spurs Digest. Sorry, mate. Listen, first and foremost, as we've already said, I trust Ange Postecoglou with most of the players at that football club. I don't trust any of the defenders to be able to play his way. This argument that people say they're all international players, who these days isn't? Like, isn't everyone an international footballer? Eric Dyer gets into the England setup. Ben Davies and Rodon play centre-half for Wales. Davinson Sanchez plays for Colombia.
You know what, Sav? Do you know what? If you want to have that conversation with Spurs Digest, doesn't that give you the kind of understanding of the level of players nowadays compared to what it used to be? That players like Ben Davies can get into the Wales squad, or players like Davinson Sanchez gets into the Colombian squad. It just goes to show that the level is just nowhere near as good as it used to be in terms of international players.
Oh man, I'll tell you what then. I'll tell you what we do. For people like Spurs Digest and anyone that doesn't think we need new defenders, cool. When we start losing games next year because we can't defend, fans like you can't moan. Because you don't want new centre halves, it seems. Like, I don't know a single Spurs fan other than this guy that doesn't think we need new centre halves. This is absolutely bonkers. Sorry,
he's got to be trolling.
Yeah. Okay, look, you're trolling now. Go away. Listen, I do want to go for another 4 minutes just to wrap it up to 10 o'clock. Guys, is anyone? I'll tell you what, this is interesting. Just really quickly, this is what I want to see as well in the next couple of weeks, and this is why I'm really disappointed there's not more games, guys, because I don't know the answer to this question.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know.
100% possession doesn't matter.
100%.
I think, Sean, do you know what? Yeah, it's funny you said that because I actually think that might even be the plan, is trying to just keep the ball as much as possible. Because if you look at what Andrew's been saying, he hasn't really been focusing on defensive training. He's been focusing on keeping the ball and just attacking. So
like there's the evolution of formations, right? You've got 4-4-2 back in the day that lasted forever. Way back in the 60s, you had the sweeper system. Then you went to like 4-2-3-1. Then you got 4-3-3. Now it doesn't matter. You just go 1, 2, and then 3, 5, and if you have 100% possession, that's it. That's the new version of football.
It's basically one goalkeeper, 6 in the midfield, and then 2 of them are defenders, and that's it. And the rest are just attacking players.
100% possession. That's the game. Pure football.
Let me ask you. I just want to get some predictions before we go. Right, guys and girls. Guys and girls. But by the way, when you're saying Adoji is overrated, I don't think we can underrate him or overrate him. I've seen him play like 90 minutes in a Spurs shirt. Right, guys, I want to know, and you've got to give me a number, between now and next Sunday. So I'll do between now and next Sunday's show, how many players, I'm going to go round, I will start with Sean, we'll go to Haz and then to Danny. How many players will be signed? And how many players will have left the club between now and next Sunday? There's no games, right? There's no games. The players and the owners and the manager are all in London.
As in shirts lifted?
As in shirts lifted. I'll get, even if they're about to have a medical, but deal's done, as in deal done, medical next week or whatever. How many players gone? How many players signed? Sean, let me start with you.
I'm going to give you my answer, but I've got a caveat. My answer is
I wouldn't
0
want it any
in,
other way.
0 in, 1 out. And the caveat is that we will be forcibly trying FC for 2 or 3 new players in the coming days by the week after. I think we're going to get no players in by next week. And I think we're going to have Harry Kane that's going to have left.
Yeah, I've got a funny feeling that. If not,
but the week after, Savva, the rumors are going to be galloping away. Good times for content creators.
So give that to me again, Sean. So how many in?
0 in.
0 in. How many out?
1.
1. Wow. Right. So that will be 3 players in and 2 players out by the week before
by the end of
season
next
starts.
Yeah, okay. But the week after, it's going to be bonkers with the amount of rumors.
Okay.
We'll cover that next Sunday.
We'll cover that next Sunday, yeah. Haz, how many in, how many out?
For both of them?
Simple.
This is Spurs way.
Zero junction.
It's Spurs way, isn't it? Look, we do business in the last 3 hours of the transfer window. All right, it's simple as that. Simple as that. Mark my words. Come back here next Sunday. Make sure you tune in, everyone. Next Sunday, it's going to be 0. Trust me. Clip it if you have to. It'll be 0.
Okay, so we've got 0 and 1, 0 and 0. Oh, it's going to be a busy week at Spurs. I'll tell you what we will have for you answer, Danny, is we will have 15 million posts on Instagram from Spurs official of players scoring goals in training. Like
5 new sponsorship deals. We got the new toilet paper sponsorship deal at the club.
Yep.
Did you see it today?
Aftershave.
It said Basuma with a lovely turn and goal in training, and I'm like, right, where's the defenders? Danny, how many in, how many out?
Zilch, nada, complete 0. I mean, we've taken 6 weeks to sort out this Harry Kane deal, and nothing's been done it's going to be, I reckon, the Harry Kane situation will be dragged out another 2 weeks minimum before we even see Kane sold. And then we might start looking at maybe buying players. But even then, who knows? Because we've got 36 players, Sav. How are we going to add more players to a squad of 36? It's impossible.
By the way, mate, listen, you're always welcome back. As I said, listen, all you did was attack the panel with you lot on negative. Try, most people in the chat debate. Just debate it. Don't have to call everyone negative. And, you know, that's how life works.
Do you know what, Sam? I'd love to see Spurs Digest come on one of the shows and actually have a
I'd love it. Well, listen, I always let people on. Last question, really last question this time. Is Harry Kane a Spurs player this time next Sunday?
Yes.
No.
No, yes.
Yes, from me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. All right.
It's the Spurs way. Come on, we all know it's the Spurs way.
I'm begging for him to leave. I am begging for him to leave right now. How screwed up is that? I'm desperate. I'm going to bed every night praying for some sort of closure. You know, I'm like that guy who got dumped by the best looking bird, the best looking bird he's ever had. And I've been texting her, asking for a response. And I'm just begging for a response. Even if it says, leave me alone. I just want something. I want something from this best looking bird we've ever had.
Sav, can you put Paddy Hartnett's comment up? Can you put the one you just put up? The one, this, right? I've never seen Paddy so like upset about Spurs and so down about Spurs. He's always so positive, and for him to be like this, you know, there's things are not going right at Tottenham.
Honestly, some of the most positive Spurs fans that always call me negative have been messaging me this week going, actually, you're not wrong, are you? And I'm like, oh, I feel justified. Just quickly, I've got a feeling there's going to be some big movement this week with the Kane stuff. They've got the meeting tomorrow, apparently.
Don't worry. We're gonna get the reminder news. The meeting's been rescheduled again because Daniel Levy he's had another issue or something.
Yeah. Oh God. Listen. Anyway, here we are. 2 last super chats. Moss Chops, lovely French bulldog there, said, "I think we should play a 1-0-6-4 for the new season. we might stand a chance. Listen, if we're gonna concede goals anyway, let's just not have a back four. Goalkeeper can throw it out to midfield and we'll just bombard teams with attack. Why not? Let's do it." And this is a great name. Jim Jam Pookie. Love it. Has said 1 in Leandro Demau and Spurs Digest. Oh my God. Come on. Keep it nice. Keep it nice. Listen, first of all, thank you to everybody in the chat. I've really enjoyed it. Some good debates going on tonight. Please, Danny, thank you very much. Please go and subscribe to Danny at Tottenham on Tour, him, Ben, and of course the leader of the protests, Mr. Brian Daigle. Please go over and subscribe to Haz, Marlon, and Ashmatic, Southview Coys. Subscribe to Spurs Talk Show, who should have hit the.
No, I'm 3 away.
From what?
Oh, come on, we got to get 3 people before the show ends, Sav.
Oh, come on.
People.
And 3 people
before the show ends.
Hit that Ben Kaufman link. There are 3 people. Ben just put it in.
Come on,
there
guys.
You go.
3 people hit the subscribe button for me. Come on, guys. Come on,
3 people.
Sav, we've got to get 3 people before we end the show.
And absolutely.
100%.
I'll call up my nan. I'll get her to subscribe as well, mate.
Look, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be setting up at least 3 soccer accounts in about 5 minutes just to get over line anyway.
I would ask my nan, but she was she died of boredom last year watching Conte's team play football, so she can't subscribe. And anyway, everybody in the chat, 789 of you still here, 3 there. If I can, we're done. Good.
Sean.
If I can get 30 before we finish, no. If anyone would like to subscribe to me, please go and do that. Thanks, guys. I've really enjoyed this. We'll be back next Sunday. I'll be back tomorrow morning for it was a rant with Savva, then it changed to a chat, and now the window's gone bad again. It's back to being a rant with Savva. See you then at 10 a.m. Much love, everyone.
Call it an abusive rant where you like you got to level up a little bit. I've already been the rant level. Now I've got to go a little bit higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, if 34 people would like to subscribe to me, I would have done 200 subs in 1 day. That would be a new record. Much love. Take care. Levy, Enoch out. Dyer out. Davis out. Sant, I'll be here all day. See you later, everyone. Bye.
Bye.